Yo, 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 and welcome to the show, a show where we gather to discuss the TV shows. Quick programming note move on to other projects, and he's not with us in the discussion today, but I'd just like to wish him well.
And just to clarify, because I'm pretty sure, Tony, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Jay definitely broke up there. But he was saying that Adam has departed the show, is off to do other projects, and that we were wishing him well.
Yes, I concur. Jay did cut out for right when I guess the important part came.
Because it just was like, and we wish him well.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we will today be discussing my bandwidth and also the show Siesta Key from MTV, the ostensibly musical television show. How am I doing connection-wise, guys?
You're doing great now.
All right. Let's keep rolling. I struggled to decide how to describe this show and wrap it up succinctly. And I think the best way that I could describe what Siesta Key is a in quotes reality television show about a group of garbage human beings living in Florida. More specifically, we have a racist sociopath at the center. Then we have a cast of characters, including some of his friends and hangers-on, some of his exes, girls he's currently sleeping with, and girls he's trying to sleep with. We have breakups and betrayals, and we never really know how much of it is real, if any of it.
It is, though described as a reality television, it's also probably scripted to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Probably to a high degree.
To a high degree.
I'd be willing to accept. It's what America wants. Let's just be honest. It's what we need.
So I will say this right off the bat. As someone who is not a regular purveyor of reality television, it is very interesting to shift into this format. And a little jarring at times because, like, I don't know if like it's maybe the editing, but like there are times where I feel like the camera angles or camera scene shots last way too long. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just like, oh God, please stop staring at their face. Please move on to the next moment.
It's like they were doing a Scrubs internal monologue, but without the internal monologue.
Exactly, and again, like. I don't know. I guess I'm used to watching so many shows with such high quality acting. when you're watching them and you're like, do people talk like this? Like, yeah, ha. Like, how many like moments was there with Alex and like talking with Juliet, even that first episode, whenever they're like setting out the stage for the entire show? Like, it felt such like a fake conversation for it to be reality television. I guess. Like how is it that fake like fiction feels more real than reality television?
Oh man, well I thought I thought it was weird. I think I was looking it up later. I was like, because when the intro credits, it was like listen to producers and it had some guy named like Gary Compa, a very
Compakers,
yeah, and I was like, that's a weird name. And then like later on, I was looking at I think the cast on IMDb, and it's like Alex has the same last name. I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense. And then I guess I read that like this show exists because his dad, who's like I guess mega rich, I don't know what he does, but funded the pilot essentially. I guess this is why also he's the main character.
Yeah, they were the producers for like the first 3 seasons. I think was his family.
Yeah. The story goes Alex's father is a property developer. And in order to drum up interest, both for condos and for resorts, he wanted to get young people to be interested in coming to this area of Florida, and figured that one of the best ways to do that would be to create a show like this, similar to what was that, Laguna Beach? Or
that was like a huge one whenever I remember being, or I think it was when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But like Laguna Beach was like massive.
Mm-hmm. Which is basically the same concept, wealthy sexy young people doing wealthy, sexy young things, supposedly, realistically.
So, because of accusations of its scriptedness,
Mhm.
and if we can get real fast, I'm gonna give a quick summary of the first season since this is the spoiler show.
Oh, please.
This is my so it covers 2 summers. Summer 1 is what I call Alex's story. Summer 2 is what I call Brandon's story. Okay, obviously these are the mirror images of the exact same story because both of them are just about infidelity. Alex's story first hooks up with Juliet, and then immediately like hurts. What's her name? Was the one that Brandon dated? I can't remember her name.
Madison.
Madison,
Madison,
right? Because
two
Madison
S's.
thought that they were going to hook up together, but then he was already with Juliet, and then he basically cheats on Juliet to get with what's her face, Kelsey.
Kelsey.
And so Juliet then starts getting with Kelsey's boyfriend, who
Frosty.
yeah, Garrett, Mr. I have no personality and work in exercising.
But he has like an act, so you don't need a personality.
It's true. Also, like I think it's funny whenever they describe anyone as like down to earth in this show, like is at all. Like that one is really funny to me just as a comment about these people. But then we also at the same time we have the drama among all the girls about who's dating who, and then what's her name? Chloe. And the massive drama that she creates with the very, very beginning, getting the shit beat out of her by her friend Amanda. Yeah. And that all that drama is going on. Pauly is just shitting the bed, like performance wise. Pauly is Alex's cousin, and also apparently, like in my opinion, a little bit like he's one of those people that obviously his family, he lost his mom and dad. That's sad. And he had to learn to cope with it. Probably learn to cope by making fun of other people to make himself feel more normal, which is at least the way I kind of interpret it. Because like even whenever like they made fun of Chloe for the fat joke, like the big fat joke in the show was like, let's have a big dinner. And I was like, oh yeah, a big dinner. And Polly's like, the fat joke. I was like, that's the worst fucking fat joke I've ever heard. And this is a like pinnacle like plot point in this fucking show. But
yeah, it was called back for like 4 or 5 episodes.
4 or 5 fucking callbacks. Like outrageous amount of times that moment was called back. But like they end the season kind of like where Alex doesn't end up with Kelsey and Juliet ends up with Garrett, and they end this he goes off to law school. And that was like and I was like, okay, the show's over. It's like, nope. We're going to show you this little mini summary of what we're about to show you. We're going to allude to it as if it was the year before the summer, but it's actually everything we were about to see. That was the most confusing thing halfway through the show that they gave that. But I read that it was because MTV like extended season 1 because of how popular it was. And the second season's all about Brandon's infidelity with Madison, who a relationship had been blossoming the whole time. And season 1,
I haven't watched the second season. Have you?
No. The second summer is season 1 still.
You said second season. So
sorry, second summer.
Like there were 2 parts of this first season, and the second part happens in the fall, concluding around Christmas.
Is it because they said they were coming back for summer at the very beginning of that part of the story?
Yeah,
like,
but
that's what's so confusing.
They're all in school though, I think, still, and there's Thanksgiving and stuff like that.
Like I thought it was Christmas because Alex is wearing that single and ready to jingle sweater, which was maybe the funniest part of the whole show.
That was the very crescendo at the end. That was how he, I guess, said that, hey, I'm going to be independent of Juliet because they hook back up. But I will say this: the thing that I thought was the funniest was whenever they teased that one girl, the new girl who joined, that was super promiscuous and was flirting with everyone.
Kelsey.
Candace, not Kelsey. Candace.
Canvas. Yeah.
Like
Canvas.
painting.
But they like alluded that she was going to be the one that Brandon sleeps with, like for multiple episodes, and then it's just some rando at a concert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty concise.
See you later, BG.
Man, the craziest thing about this show, well, I mean, man, when you start watching it, you're like, oh, this is so trashy and cringe, but you know also that you're gonna like end up actually caring about watching it, kind of. Like I knew it, and I did care. Like I will give this show semi props. Not that they did a great job of it, but I felt like they at least tried to make it somewhat higher quality, I guess. Like all the little vista shots and the transitions. And I at least give them props for like every time they did the little teaser, like right before you go to commercial break, like we all thought this summer was gonna be different. I'll at least give them props that they at least whatever they said in that little teaser for the next 15 minutes before commercial actually did seem to happen. So I felt at least they weren't teasing a bunch of crap that never happens.
That's a fair point, but also at the same time, when did they record that? Like that, all that stuff in post, like,
Yeah.
like that's what I was laughing about, and this is where I'm like, they're like, oh, no one knew that this is what Alex was doing. I was like, bitch, you're the one who was like, you're upset about this.
Oh man.
I will say, wait, real fast, favorite character,
Tarek.
and least favorite.
Tarek's my favorite.
Tarek, yeah. Wow, I'm glad I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Wait, who?
Tarek,
the black
gay guy.
Madison.
Oh, okay, yes. Again, his name, the names in this, I have a hard time with a lot of them to remember. Yeah. There's so many people. They were a lot of times introduced as friend of Madison.
Or ex of Alex.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. I was just not that I guess cared about them being their own people, but yeah, everyone's just related to Alex. It's like Alex's friend, Alex's ex-girlfriend,
Alex's friend,
girl Alex is flirting with.
Yes.
It's like these people, like, we're 10 episodes in. I think we know these people's names because once again, every time you change a scene, you flash their name on the screen. Same thing with Alex's house. Like Alex's house, yeah, no shit, it's the biggest freaking house on the planet in this show. I know where we are.
Mm-hmm. But again, remember, like, they're the producers.
They're now airing season 4 of this show. And would you be surprised to know that they're still doing that same thing? They're still introducing Madison as Juliet's friend and subtitling her as such every time.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I also feel like when you're doing this kind of show, you probably have a certain level of people that are checking it out because it's a certain level of popular with a circle. So if you are coming in and watching episode 5 in season 4 for the first time,
yeah,
I think that's probably the reason why they would continue to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, MTV is not really going to give two shits if you go back and watch the old stuff. It's the new stuff with the commercials that they're trying to get you to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, okay, so Jay, your favorite. You said Tarek, same thing?
Tarek, yeah.
Least favorite. You got both of you guys, least favorite.
Obviously Alex, because he's an a-hole.
Yeah.
Like, is that too simple of an answer anymore?
No, not at all. I think that's very valid.
I was so happy. Like, so not season 2, part 2 of season 1, when they come back from the mid-season.
It's a break or something. Yeah.
I don't know. The break. He's got his jaw wire shut because someone decked him in a club. When he's like, oh man, I was like, so satisfying. I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. I'm like, he deserves it so much.
That was amazing.
And the fact that there wasn't a huge lawsuit going on, a subplot going on or something, that like definitely it was his fault.
He probably opened his mouth and said some dumb shit at a bar because he's a rich daddy's kid, and someone from the real world just beat the shit out of him.
Maybe he's the perfect character creation because everyone loves someone to hate, and so he filled that role to a T.
I think in a lot of ways he did. I just didn't like him. Again, these situations where like he's dating or has previously been dating Kelsey, and now Madison's dating Brandon, and Madison and Alex are hanging out, and like every time she's like, oh, Brandon and things are doing really great, and then all of a sudden they're like purposely edited to show like Alex like look away or look down or something like that. Like, number one, I don't know how much those sequences are just real or just like editing. Mm-hmm. But it definitely added to the moments where I'm just like, oh, I can't stand this fucking guy. But no, honestly, Pauly fits both. of mine. Like some of my like most cringe moments were just
Mhm.
Pauly opening his mouth, and also like the shit stirring. I was like, God damn, Pauly, you were just shit stirring like crazy.
He and Chloe, they
Yeah.
were the
Yeah.
masters.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's also why like there was these like huge dramatic headbutts between Pauly and Chloe, is because both of them are shit stirrers, and inevitably you're gonna spill shit on each other.
Chloe's like a freaking social media super spy. She's like, I saw on your Snapchat location history you stayed here. Or like I saw this person's Snapchat. Look, he's wearing this jingle and ready to mingle. Ugh. She's like a super sleuth.
Well, I mean, obviously they have a vested interest in the show being something worth watching, so there has to be something. Like again, what was the point of Pauly turning his own mic off over and over again? Like,
Yeah.
like, like that one, that whole sequence, other than just being heavily cringe, like, what did it do? Like
Well,
he had a moment of self conflict and couldn't handle it.
don't you think that yes, there was a story scripted for what was going to happen by the producers
Yes.
ahead of time, but that is punctuated by moments of actual reality. And in my opinion, I think Pauly failing at that performance and then just cratering and being unable to handle that defeat, I think that was genuine.
It could have been. I guess to me, I take Seth Rogen's criticism that he was turning the mic off himself, like as kind of like creating the drama because Pauly hadn't had any up to that moment, and we hadn't gotten to hear like, oh, my dad died, my mom died, everyone feels sorry for me, and I guess it was kind of like the first time we even see Pauly, same thing, it's like here's Pauly and he's making some like dumbass joke over Alex's shoulder. It's like Alex's cousin. Like I'm like, is this guy gonna be around or what?
Well, are
But
you saying that Pauly was intentionally sabotaging himself?
I think that outside of like Alex getting his face beat in and Chloe getting her face beat in, I don't think a whole lot of this was real. I think this was
Oh,
more scripted than not scripted at the end of the day. So like up to that point, what story development had Pauly gotten? Right?
really nothing other than being kind of a villain.
Yeah.
Not much.
And so if we're talking about from a producer standpoint, this was a moment to him seem real, to have like a breakdown, to have people come and do all the traditional things. I just thought it was dumb. Like I was like, it's kind of like the fat joke, right? It's not really that good of a joke for everyone to get upset
Mhm.
about. But it
Yeah,
was such a big deal.
I really wonder what the plan for this show was, because in that first section of season one, it really feels like Pauly is being set up to be the musician,
And
but
then
then he has that
Brandon, they just
disastrous
replace him.
performance, and they just pivot immediately and are like, "Nope, it's Brandon."
Yeah.
That's what I mean by this season feeling like a mirror of itself. Is
Mhm.
like it tells the same story again, but Brandon now fills both Alex and Pauly's role.
Mm.
Because it doesn't feel all that the storytelling didn't change all that much. Like into that second part of the story, it just now was Alex kind of the dirt bag, or not Alex. Brandon's kind of the dirt bag, right?
Now, how about, let me give you another example, is the moment at the Halloween party where Brandon tells Madison that he slept with the
Oh, we lost Jake. It's like
Yeah.
every time there's a very pivotal crescendo.
When Madison is first told by Brandon about him sleeping with the one after Canvas tells her, right? I'm assuming Tony, that's what he was talking about, probably.
Oh, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay.
I was talking about when Brandon tells Madison that he slept with the groupie and Madison's reaction to it. Maybe this is colored by my experience of seeing the rest of the show, but Madison is one of the worst actors on this show, and her reaction when he tells her that, she was genuinely upset and distraught, and I don't think she's that good of an actress. um, so in my opinion, I think that's another moment of genuineness in this show.
Yeah, I definitely think there was unscripted moments in here.
I definitely think they're unscripted moments. I struggle to believe how much the relationships were real. Like, for example, like Garrett and Juliet. Like that whole sequence, every time they interacted, things just felt very, I don't know, Garrett just feels off the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole time. Christy constantly would be like, is he one of the gay guys? And I was like, no, he's not. So like I just was like, I don't know. He just, to me, doesn't fit in dialogue wise a lot of
Well,
times.
there was a Reddit AMA from someone who claimed to be a classmate of a high school classmate of many of the cast members, grew up in this town. And this person was saying that many of these characters were just thrown in by production and the backstory is just a lie. Like apparently Madison apparently is an invention that Alex's actual high school girlfriend refused to do the show, and so they just cast someone else, said you're his ex, fill that role. And allegedly Brandon and Garrett are another two that were they were of the same age but did not run in the same circles and were not friends until they just created this show.
Well, Garrett definitely feels like an outsider. It seems to indicate that Brandon was more tight knit. Of course, they wrote it that way. I also think it's like whenever they're like, we're getting pretty serious. We've been dating for 8 to 9 months, and then like God, just some of the interactions with Kelsey and Garrett at the beginning were just so cringe.
Can we talk about the jar of thoughts?
Is that me? Is it? Y'all hear that?
I hear it, but I don't know what it is.
Sorry, it's Christy's phone in the background. Y'all keep talking.
Anyway, no, that first scene in the first episode with Garrett and Kelsey just set the two of them up so perfectly. Because that's where he's giving her the jar of his thoughts that she's supposed to read one a day. And that's just honestly that's the genuinely like sweet thing to do. And she's just like, oh, you didn't buy me dinner at the Ritz?
Oh,
how
yeah,
dare you?
like mad about the picnic food quality.
Yeah, that he's just like, maybe I fell for the script, but like he was that counterpoint to Alex of this kid who allegedly worked for everything he has never been given anything, tries to find the best in situations. And Kelsey
Garrett?
is just not interested. Yeah.
Garrett's the anti-Alex. I definitely think that's the setup for sure.
Yeah.
But even like Garrett wasn't charismatic. Like I feel like that maybe that's the reality TV part. Is even Alex didn't feel all that charismatic. Like I didn't understand why he was friends other than he had money. Like all these people were around. Also, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Summer and Siesta Keys, you do have a party every 3 days, but oh my God. Like
how many
there's
events
like
these people go to?
How many fucking events do you have over the summer?
I don't know how, like, I kind of was curious the little part two. Once Alex kind of went off on his own, I guess they had to drag him back, but I was just like, how is the show going to survive? Because it literally is, I thought it was like a commentary on like this guy's family is so rich that like all these people are like, they just put up with his stuff and hook up with him or whatever just to stay close enough to go on all these trips and go to all these parties and get access to all this stuff, essentially, is the only reason they're friends with him. Because like everyone, whenever they're not with him talking about him, hates him basically. Like this guy's the worst, treats women like shit, like but they just like, I guess they're having too much, my opinion is they're having too much fun, and like random trips to Barbados or whatever, the Caribbean, aren't going to happen if you're not putting up with it. Kind of. So I was like, once he goes out to school, how's this even going to continue? Because there's no one that can foot these kind of outrageous bills for these activities. I guess the show can, but
one of my favorite moments of this show, after that change was made and Juliet goes back to Florida State, one of my favorite moments of this show happens, especially because it tickles my legal funny bone. And it was the scene where Alex has come to Tallahassee to visit Juliet, and they're at It looks like
At
a
the
tailgate
party?
party. Yeah, for a Florida State football game because everybody is obviously wearing Florida State branded and trademarked gear with the logos. And the producers, I think, got there and then realized, oh shit, we can't show this. We have to cover this up somehow. But they did like the bare minimum of taking like, knuckles wide tape and putting it over logos that are 6 inches wide. So you can clearly say it says Florida State and it's got the Seminole logo head, but they put, a quarter size sticker over it. And it's like, really? Really?
Well, sometimes the bare minimum is all they need.
Yeah, that might be the tagline for this show, especially like story and dialogue wise. It's just like, all right, we're going to start with Alex and Juliet, you're together. Garrett and Kelsey, you're together. All right, you're going to swap, and then you're going to swap back.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that like literally like a thought I had when I finished and pat myself on the back, usually only finish like a day or two before the pod, but I was early on this one. But I was like, I finished it and I was like, literally nothing has changed from the way it was in the first episode. Like first episode, Juliet and Alex are quote unquote together. Kelsey and Garrett are together. Madison single, Brandon single, whatever. Chloe's, I guess they have to keep her single for story purposes or something. But I was like, and then at the end of the show, it's like after all the getting together and breaking up and getting back together, it's like everything is exactly the same. All the couples and singles are exactly where they were before.
Well, I thought that they ended with Alex and Juliet off because of the single and mingle
right
thing. Like, so he ended essentially as he started single, remember at the very beginning, before he got together with Juliet, and then Juliet and him break up at the very, very end of that episode, basically. So it becomes even more like it was as it began, right?
As far
kind
as
of Shakespearean.
like, I guess I liked Garrett because they were trying to make him the nice guy. I guess I like the nice guys. So whether or not he was, maybe that's why he seemed so boring, is just because he wasn't putting up with it. But one thing that was super obviously scripted to me was the whole charity car wash raffle / maybe having a different girl interest. Like obviously, like, Garrett's not a good actor either, and he had no interest in this girl, even when went on the date, and then he like invited her to Thanksgiving after that. It's like I was not. I don't know if I'm easily. I was not fooled at all with that. I'm like, this is gonna last like one episode just to get him and Kelsey back together. Like that's obviously scripted.
I thought it was gonna be another girl for Alex to go after.
Oh, maybe so.
She's but like the one in the show he doesn't.
Him and Madison, I at least have like the sense that at least whatever they wrote her that way, or maybe she is in real life, has some sort of like self-respect for herself, because she never really gave in to Alex's crap or Brandon's. Like she didn't give them second chances when they didn't deserve it. So I was like, well, at least this girl's kind of halfway smart.
I mean, yes, that is the one decision that she makes that is, I think, prudent and wise. But if you think about other things she does, like, getting a degree in engineering and then not pursuing a career in engineering. She goes on like two job interviews for the wrong type of engineering, and then it's just like, you know what? I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to hang on this beach.
I don't believe she has a degree in engineering. Like I to me, this is kind of like, I don't know if you ever watched like Nathan For You or John Benjamin Has a Van, but like where they send someone in to do an interview for a job that they're not qualified for, and they just have them talk and have someone speak into an earbud. Like that felt more like how do you not know, if you go and get an engineering degree, how do you not know the difference between the different types of engineering out there?
Yeah, true.
Like if Jay, you have a law degree, you go, it's like, oh, I want to get a job in law. Well, this is administrative law. You have a degree, you're specializing in tort law. Like, this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you work in that field, that's, to me, again, gets back to if you say that she was created, she's not even the real person. I don't believe anything about her backstory then is real. She's a figment. And so at that point, my question would be, is she bad at acting, or is she just get lazier as the show goes on?
Oh, wow, man. Aaron, you can tell the future. Let me tell you that. Which brings me to my next segment, if you guys are game.
I'm game.
Are you gonna fill us in on how, like, after season 1?
I prepared a Siesta Key spoiler quiz if you guys are interested in taking it.
Hell's yes.
Yes, let's go.
Okay, so this first one, I'll always say I already know that Aaron knows the answer, and Tony, you might too. But let's toss this one up. Which cast member would be fired and thereafter edited out of the show midway through season 3 due to racist social media posts?
Is it Alex?
Ding, ding, ding! 100% it's Alex.
That's only just because I saw, like, on IMDb, I was like, I want to see how people review this show, and there's so many 1-star reviews. There's a couple that are like, they accept it for what it is. I hear after season 1, it just gets, like, people get legitimately mean and nasty to each other, whereas, like, season 1's still kind of halfway playful, I guess. It's maybe not the right word for it, but
Like season 1 definitely has a little bit more of like, oh, you're at 22 at the oldest, you're making some youthful indiscretions. Like, I was struck by just how much of season 1 is our cast members talking to their parents. That really goes away after season 1.
it goes away halfway through season 1. It's just like they just all disappear.
Yeah, like Kelsey's mom with multiple sclerosis, never seen again. Nobody cared. Like season 4, nobody cares anymore. We're on to bigger and better things.
Well, but that's because, again, it breaks the fantasy a little bit. These are a bunch of beautiful people who don't have real problems. Their problems are all these social problems. You bring multiple sclerosis, or Chloe's mom's, didn't she also have multiple sclerosis? Didn't everyone have multiple sclerosis at the end of the show? Like,
She had some sort of spots on a brain, like a MRI that they thought maybe could be lesions. Which
everybody was, everybody was a model. Everybody had MS.
Everyone's, yeah.
Oh man. All right. So question number 2. Which cast member dates and later becomes engaged to a season 1 producer of the show?
Amanda.
Juliet.
Both wrong. Madison.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when I said the one prudent thing Madison ever did was reject Alex, yeah. It's amazing because the guy is like 25 years older than she is. He is ugly as sin, treats her badly. And he comes in season 3. And when she like reveals to the rest of the group that she's dating him, it's incredible. Like, you guys should look it up if you can. It's incredible because like everyone they drop that kind of reality show veneer and they're just like, no, Madison, this is weird. Like, what you're doing is weird and I'm not supporting it.
Like, because it breaks the fourth wall. Like, he's from the show. Like,
they're just like, he used to be your boss. Like, this is not okay.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Question number 3. As of season 4, which 2 cast members get new boobs?
Chloe and Kelsey.
I'm going to say Kelsey, and I'm going to say Canvas if she stays.
So I think both of you got one right. It is Kelsey and Juliet.
Oh, okay.
Dang, Juliet's were already kind of big, I thought.
Well, she got some work done.
Does Kelsey ever become a model again? Besides the fake modeling gig that the show got her, I guess, at the end.
I don't think so. By like the story in season 4 is that Kelsey and Juliet have rival swimsuit lines coming out.
I'm so tempted to keep watching. Like, oh man, I got to give the show props. It's like,
yes,
crazy as it was, like, I didn't ever feel horrible watching it. Like, clicking next episode didn't feel bad. And I really wanted to watch the first episode of season 2 just to see what kind of crazy crap they were going to. I'm sure there was some sort of like, since the last time you saw our characters. And some sort of update. Like, I was genuinely curious, I guess. Like, it's like, man, I'm telling you, man, it happens. Like, daytime soaps, you go, like, you're home for the summer, your mom's watching these shows, you're like, oh my god, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. But then you watch it, and like 3 days later, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe her dead cousin that they died in hang gliding accidents actually still alive.
Tony, just please watch more of this show. Even if we don't do it for this show, I would start another show where we just talk about Siesta Key season 2.
You're gonna have one of those shows where you like go episode by episode and break it down. Like,
Yes,
I don't
100%.
want to blow everybody's mind, and I also don't want it to be creative. But like, we have a podcast where we watch it and we drink Keystone. It's called Siesta Keystone. So it's horrible in multiple ways.
It might be the white trashiest podcast in the history of America.
We've got to get drunk on Keystone.
Amazing.
Talk about the show.
No, I think what you do is you like, we have to watch it while drinking Keystones and like commentate on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the podcast.
All right, I got 2 more spoilers for you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So in season 3, a notable scene features a group of cast members arguing over how many millions are in a billion. Which cast member correctly identifies how many millions there are in a billion?
It should be Madison if she's a fucking engineer.
Madison and
But-
Pauly.
I was gonna say Pauly.
So this is a trick question. It's none of them.
Oh man, that's even worse.
None of them argue about it, or none of them correctly identify how many.
None of them correctly identify it. I tried to find the clip for you guys, and it eluded me on the internet. But it's, if I remember correctly, it's at least Amanda, Juliet, and Kelsey, and they're discussing this because in season 3, after Alex gets edited out, Juliet goes from banging Alex to banging another guy who is allegedly a billionaire. So Chloe asks, is it different having sex with a billionaire than a millionaire? And she's like, yeah. And so they start to, how many millions are there in a billion? And Amanda is like, 10. There's 10. It's 10. It's definitely 10. And it just makes my mind hurt.
I'm surprised to see that Amanda's still on the show in season 4, because she's barely even in season 1.
Yeah, other than like the beatdown and like, you know, her weird harshly turning down Brandon, which felt really out of the moment.
Yeah, that was so.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like there was a lot of that sequence we didn't get, and we just got the let me like almost like maybe Brandon was bothering her the whole time, and then finally she just laid down the law. It felt like it was like, hey, how's it going? Let me lay down the law for you.
Like, I'm sorry if you got the wrong impression. I do not believe that she broke Chloe's nose at the very beginning of the season 1, because like there's a picture, and I guess her nose looks crooked in the picture that they keep showing. There's blood all down her face, and then there's like literally, it looks like they added a couple little halfway dark circles under her eyes. But if her nose was broken enough to have surgery, like her eyes would be swollen and there'd be bruising like crazy all over her face, and there was like nothing.
You think it was just a pretext for her to have no surgery in the first place?
Or just to like start a drama with it, to set up her dating Brandon, Amanda and Brandon kind of starting their thing, and then Chloe, whatever, I don't know what. Chloe has the least story arcs, I guess, going on in the show.
Other than the Star Spangled Banner swimsuit and Pauly again.
I feel like those were real because they were like, everything Pauly says is so like cruel that I don't know if it could be delivered.
No, he definitely ramps it up. He definitely ramps it up in that second half.
Mm-hmm.
But but to me, it just feels more pathetic. That's why I mean, like, he's my least favorite and my favorite character in the show.
I don't know. I guess we need a female perspective. Like, it's a stereotype that like women are less forgiving. Like, do you think in real life all these girls could have all these fights and drama and then still remain like I feel like it's only a couple episodes and then they all have a talk and they forget.
I think it's social necessity.
Like, under the bridge.
I think it's social necessity. I think that they still hold everything against each other, and they carry it all with them the entire time for whatever is real. But I think it's out of social necessity that, hey, if I really go crossways, I'm gonna get written out of the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Like to some level of reality has to play a part in that, right?
Yeah, it was just my same thing with Alex. I think everyone has to just kind of deal with it or suck up, or else fun's gone. Well, I guess maybe not after he gets written out. But
yeah, when that happens, there's kind of a shakeup in this sort of cast because The storyline in season 3 is actually that Alex knocks up another girl that was not in season 1. And then the baby mama, she continues to be in the show through season 3, even after Alex is edited out, which they did so clumsily too, because he's still in the scene. So you see like the back of his head, but they
Oh,
just
he's
like,
literally edited out of the show. I thought you
yes,
just feel like they wrote his character off in a horrible way, and
no, like
they
it had
literally
been
edited.
filmed.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
How that's impressive, honestly. How they it's a bold move.
And so season 4, like there's no Alex, no Pauly, no baby mama, no his parents, none of that. So they have to introduce some new people. Amanda finally makes it into the opening credits in season 4.
Oh,
After seeing her whole ass for every time you see her for the whole, show.
ugh, that's what got Brandon hooked.
Can't blame him. Cannot blame him. She actually
Oh,
becomes a filmmaker of sorts and is directing Brandon's music videos later on. What a show! What an incredible show!
Yeah, to me, oh my gosh, Brandon's performances were horrible.
He's so bad. He's
So
the worst
bad.
rapper. Have you listened to any of his music?
Only in the show, only what was in the show, and it was all just horrendous stuff. But like, I loved whenever he went to the producer, and the producer's like, "So this is like a mixtape, like this is a hobby. You're not serious about this."
Mhm.
Like, I was like, that's exactly how I feel about Madison's interviews, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, are you serious? Like, do you actually want a job, or is this just kind of a bit for the TV? And that's what it felt like a lot of times.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff just felt like bits for the TV.
yeah, she was very quick to say, "Oh, I never did any internships. I have no experience." Basically, please don't hire me. I'll be horrible at this job.
Well, apparently they reveal later on that apparently Madison's family is allegedly just as wealthy as Alex's, just not as flashy about it. And so apparently she's really just another rich girl, but in season 1 is not really portrayed that way.
They had to be, because I mean, yeah, they're just like, there's no sense of needing to get a job,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I'm guessing it's her parents put, well, probably Kelsey's mom too, but like they all put her and Kelsey and Madison's sister in a apartment of their own
Mm-hmm.
with seemingly no job. I mean, how much does this tiki hut pay? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, right.
It's
And
not
how
even
about
a
that?
real restaurant. It's owned by the show or some shit like that. Like, it's just a
It's
story
just a meeting
convention.
point for people to like the only people. I guess I saw one random dude in the background, like in a lot of scenes, drinking a beer, but it's just like no one's ever there. Like there's never.
It's just a set.
Yeah. I thought that maybe they were going to try to redeem Pauly after his little fiasco, and then he like has a little heart to heart with Chloe. Well, they kind of set him up at the beginning of maybe being halfway wise. He talks to Chloe about her anger problems and stuff, but then he has this thing, and then he talks to Chloe to apologize, and then she's like, "Well, you know what? You're not making me a better person, so I'll just have to wait on it." And he's like, "What? Are you serious? You're not going to forgive me?" I was like, "Oh, there goes that redemption arc that I thought he was going to get." Just like immediately drops whatever pretense he had.
I really appreciated his total lack of self-awareness when he had his legal troubles, and he's saying, "Oh man, I got to go to court on July the 3rd. I'm going to be pre-gaming for 4th of July that day. That's not going to work for me." Because as someone who represents people of similar qualities on a regular basis, I can 100% testify that is true. That is 100% how some people will respond to that situation.
Oh man.
It's just an inconvenience.
Yeah.
So is everyone from that haven't been written off the show or from season 1, are they still in season 4?
Canvas is, I think she's in season 2 and then drops out. But, Kelsey, Garrett, Chloe, Brandon, Juliet, like Juliet really becomes the focus starting around season 2, where in season 1, they alternated who was giving the voiceover. But starting in season 2, it's only ever Juliet.
Huh.
I think
And
she's the
it's
best choice. I think she's
I
the
didn't
least
find her
feeling.
horrible. Yeah.
I was gonna say she's the one that feels the least fake. She's the best actress of all of them, in my opinion,
yeah.
with
Mhm.
regards to just presenting and acting in scenes. Is out of all of them. I mean, Chloe is probably a close second, but even Chloe, there's a certain like Kelsey. I think is awful. I don't think Madison's all that believable. But I don't know. Like Madison's such a weird one to me. I feel like I believe more that she's just 100% figment creation
Mhm.
than anything. Maybe she is a rich person from that town, but I don't think any of her story is real at all. Maybe
Yeah.
her dad, maybe her sister.
But like I've got to give props to Juliet for taking, just being a hot girl cast in a show to be the love interest to a terrible person, taking that and turning it into being the star of the show. You know, like kudos. That's the American dream right there.
I'm so curious. I wonder how much they get. Are they getting paid for this? I wonder.
It feels like it's enough to live on the way that they kind of portray their lives.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like build any kind of wealth, but like to pay your bills is what I'm saying.
I kind of hope it's more than that.
Do you?
I kind of, because they're not going to have anything left after this is over. Like, I
But
hope
they're
they're not.
terrible people that we are exploiting.
Does
I
Garrett get
suppose.
worse? I feel like he's like not a good person, but he's not a bad person. I'll take that
Yeah,
laugh. Yes.
but he let Kelsey stay over at his house that one time.
I mean, that's all the evidence you need, really.
And
See,
this show would be over in half the season if Garrett and Madison got together. Just be like, well, all right.
see, a question that I kept asking myself was, which parts of these are somewhat true, which parts are scripted, which parts are ultra scripted, and it really makes me wonder because we've got those two infidelities that we're talking about, or several infidelities actually, where we have the camera crew staking out Brandon leaving that girl's apartment allegedly. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But when Kelsey stays over with Garrett, and also when she allegedly sleeps with Alex while he's still with Juliet after that gala near the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where's the cameras there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it
That
seems like almost 90% of these people's lives happen at golden hour so that they can get those beautiful sunsets in the background.
also like whenever Brandon was like, "I've never told anyone I love them before," I was like, "How old are you?" Like I don't know. Just to me that stuff didn't feel real. The talking with the mom,
Mm-hmm.
other than her saying like, now, "Remember, these are a bunch of rich white people." Like that felt real.
Yeah. I feel like they did try to have some good production value, but also that means like it's like I just like sometimes when I consider how they would have to film some of these scenes, like it really makes it like because they had to do multiple takes because like one at the very beginning that kind of like really snapped me out of it is I forget what is Alex does something because like him and Madison were kind of like maybe gonna get back together, but then he does something and she's sad and she's talking to her sister on the beach and just the worst acted. Why is he doing this to me? Like fake cry. But
It
just
was
like
whenever he was hooking up with Juliet and she didn't know that he was
oh
hooking up with
yeah,
Juliet. And she
and
was
they went on a
like,
date.
I thought we were gonna, have
Yeah.
something, but I don't understand why he
Well,
does
anyway,
this to me.
watching that, I'm like, okay, so it's like her talking to her sister. So it has her. So there's somebody across from her on the side of her sister filming her, and then if snaps to her sister sitting right next to her. So there has to be another camera behind Madison to catch her sister's point of view, and then it zooms out from the water, like is you looking at them from the water, looking at them sitting on the beach, and then also probably from behind them looking out at the water. So it's like there's like 4 camera angles on this one scene that supposedly is happening like in real time, a conversation between these two people, but then like you can't see either cameras on the side, so they had to have been either out of the angle of each other or multiple scenes, and then like one person, a camera in front in the water that you never see from behind either. So I was just like, man, like when you stop to think about, I guess the price of higher production value. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's high production value, but less than basement quality production value is that like they're probably having these conversations multiple times, or at least they're like waiting to have them while everything's getting set up for them to have the conversation. Anyway, I don't know what the purpose of that rant was, but
no, I think it's a
there
fair
you
point. 'Cause
go.
I think it gets back to how real is reality television. Being someone this is probably one of like 3 reality shows I've ever seen. Has anyone else watched any reality TV? Is this like prototypical, or is it like when someone watches Keeping Up with the Kardashians? Is it like that too, where they are going to have a scene on the couch, so everything's set up and they're waiting to have a conversation? All right, action. All right, so now we need to talk about dad or whatever.
I don't know. The main reality show I've watched is like Big Brothers, but that's kind of like by concept. They have a ton of camera angles and everything's being recorded. So that
It's
was
not
not,
cameramen. It's like
yeah,
cameras.
it's just, yeah. And I think I did one season of, why am I blanking on it now? Jersey Shore. I think I watched one of that. I don't remember that season having, like, it felt more like they were just being followed around, kind of.
More
But
fluid.
yeah, maybe
more
I'm
more
just,
like Trailer Park Boys in the office. It's just peeping in on the conversation.
or just like some people randomly filming these people doing whatever they're doing.
My consumption of reality television has jumped dramatically ever since I started living with a woman. But that's kind of what led me to Siesta Key to begin with. But I've spent a significant amount of time watching the Below Deck franchise, which is a show on Bravo about people who work on super yachts. And it's much closer to kind of what you're talking about with with Jersey Shore or Big Brother. And I think maybe the difference there is that the format of those shows is we cram people into one place where we can set up hidden cameras.
Yeah.
And then, on a on a super yacht, that just lends itself to storylines because the crew both live and work together, and they're all kind of like Siesta Key, a bunch of young, hot people. Then, not to mention, you've got a rotation of guests coming through, but like the production value aspect of it, very, very different. You get very, you know, a lot less of these beautiful shots, the beautiful sunsets and backgrounds and compositions. You really don't get any of that at all.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Slow
And I
mo.
guess that to me feels more like, I guess, real reality TV. This feels more scripted. It just felt, I think that there were real moments, but if you have to create one fake person, it's not a real story.
I mean, fair enough.
Well, either way, as a point of, I guess, a positive for the show is I don't regret watching it, I guess I'll say.
Well, how about you, Aaron?
It wasn't an excruciating 18 episodes. It actually went by pretty quick when I actually sat down to kind of binge through it.
Like, Aaron, what would it take you to watch season 2?
I definitely stand by my original comments in our private chat that this felt like mental waterboarding for long periods of time. My thing was that, like, I would be sitting here commentating with Christy, like she would walk by and like ask what's going on, and I would explain it, and then I'd be like, fuck you, Jay, for me having to memorize all this shit so that I could explain it to someone else. Like there was a certain level of bitterness. My thing is also like, and I went through I guess evolution in high school. I hated all types of music except for like classic rock and like heavy metal, and I thought all of it was inferior. And then, like, as I kind of matured a little bit and recognized that there's other types of art that are different and just equally as good, I wouldn't consider this to be something that ever rises to that level. It just feels like white trash television, and I feel like I can say that as someone from the the white peoples. It just feels like the worst aspects of the worst people that are in pop culture. And I can understand why it's popular. I understand why a lot of people like that. Seeing that rich people have shitty lives, like, and problems and all that stuff too. But it just, to me, felt like, God, this show didn't need to exist. There was no reason for it to be made. And I don't understand who was like, you know what, yes. But again, people love 16 and Pregnant. People love like a whole lot of different reality TV. I don't even like the cooking shows. Like Christy will watch like every single cooking show possible, and those have a certain level of production that make it unreal, that you're not really privy to. But even those kind of shows, like I can watch them over a shoulder, but I'm just like, I want a story that is ridiculous and outrageous and entertains me and enthralls me, and this never had that. That would be why, for me, I would not purposefully choose to watch any more reality television at all, because I can never break the, like, even if it is a fake story, it's not a good fake story. That's what I'm like, you have so much ability to make up anything interesting, any climax, any controversy, something interesting. And what the lowest common denominator of viewer wants to watch is people fighting over girlfriends sleeping with each other's boyfriends. And, that's why the MS stuff is written out of the show very quickly. That's why the parents don't show up, because that brings a dose of reality to it that the viewer doesn't really want. I would say at the end of the day, this is what I would call an unreality show, and that the unreality is the reason why I feel people like it. I could be 100% wrong. This is me kind of thinking of pop culture as a whole, but that's how I felt about it. I don't think that anyone's wrong or bad for liking it or enjoying it. There is, you've heard me refer to this numerous times. I adore shitcoms, terrible TV shows that are poorly written because of certain like aspects of them that I find appealing. Like there's a show called Satisfaction that is written very poorly, very quickly, and I love it. Can't find it to watch anywhere. But stuff like that. So I can understand wanting to watch low quality or low brow, low culture stuff, but this is just not the type of low culture that I enjoy.
Fair enough. Like I definitely agree about the escapism. I think that it's no coincidence that I started watching this show and got attached to it during a time when I was unable to go out and go drinking at bars or go to parties, both because of the COVID pandemic and because I became a father and, turned 30 and have started to grapple with my own mortality in the fun way that we all do. So I think it's no coincidence that I enjoyed watching a show of attractive young people going to a party every 3 days.
I think also, like, for me, I was more of a homebody type person. Like in school, I didn't go out really to the socialite events very often. Very, very rarely did I go. I think also, if you were maybe one of those people who did at least go out and see these type of people, there's also a familiarity that you may have been missing during like pandemic, or if your life had gotten so hectic to the point where you can't have those certain level of social connections. And so I can see that also being a driving force as to why it could be popular with certain groups of people.
Yeah, I just think people just love feeling better about themselves. And so when you can watch people be horrible people, you can be like, well, at least I don't treat people like that, or I would never do that, or I would never fall for that if my boyfriend or girlfriend did that to me, or how could someone do this? I got to find out what is driving them.
Well, I have said, and this Christy challenged me on this point, because I've made this statement numerous times in my life that the best television is about the worst people. And she was like, okay, is your truism still true? And I was like, damn, I don't know how I can fit this, because to me, it's true. People still love this and it still fits that axiom. It's just, for me, the storytelling really fell apart for me. So I think it still is. They're the worst people and it makes the best television. I just rather would watch, the people from Always Sunny do horrible, horrible things to each other than these rich kids in Florida.
I have to wonder, and I'm not young. I'm not in the target demographic, and obviously I missed the boat because this was what from 2017 or something, and I just now watched it. But I have to wonder how much of it was just like made up, like being like, are all these high school age kids watching the show one because it's so campy and bad, but also all their friends are going to be talking about the
Is it
latest
ironic?
episode at school. Yeah, like do you have to watch it because you know everyone else is going to watch it to talk about how bad it was, and then also you kind of like halfway care about watching it also? Is that why it's popular? Like I guess I could see that's why a lot of things have been popular in the past. Is just to watch it just so you can talk about it.
So a show about keeping up with the Joneses is only popular because other people are trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Maybe.
To be horribly unwoke about it, I think it's just for girls, you know? Like, I think it's just not for us at any age.
Like
You-
the hot rich guys
Mm.
are the main. The girls get shafted, man. Like it's like a saying, man. It's like everyone is just this person's girlfriend. The girls are not their own people. Even half
Well,
the
but
guys,
to be frank, yeah, even half the guys were someone's
yeah, even
friend.
the guys
right?
are just Alex's friend. Ugh.
I bet you that like Alex probably was in the editing room for that first season. Yeah, he's my friend.
Who's this guy? He's my friend. Okay, who's
I
him?
just like
That's Kelsey's friend.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
part of
Pauly.
it-
That's my cousin.
yeah, part of the scripted part is just like how did Kelsey even get like she was obviously just roped into this group. And therefore Garrett was too. And he was the connection was he went to high school, but like she's just like this model who moved there, and they're like, all right, well, we need this girl, so
I feel like she
let's
was
get a
just
fake
different-
job for Chloe. Let's throw her at the job, and then she'll become friends with Chloe.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that it's also picking different types of people. Like, yeah, they're all beautiful people, but like they had to have some diversity. Like everyone can't be just brunettes or blondes or whatever. I feel like they also were like they needed that Clara Devine or whatever type of face because that was what was missing. If you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
that one actress. But because like I don't know, Juliet is kind of like the prototypical, you know, Florida Beach blonde. That's kind of how I saw her. I felt like Chloe was more of, as Christy said, more like a normal girl. Madison was, I guess, supposed to be the brainy girl, and then Kelsey was the outsider model. But again, I don't ever think she ever modeled before, because it was almost like whenever she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do high fashion." I guess I'm so ignorant. I don't know any of these things either. But like wouldn't you know to some degree what type of modeling you would be good for? Like, I feel like if you ever acted or were in an industry, you would know what type of people they're looking for already.
Just out of curiosity, before you guys watched this show, were you familiar with the terms editorial and commercial in that modeling context?
I was not.
Because I was not either. I had to have people explain that to me.
Commercial was like runways and stuff like that. And editorial
No, it's
was
the
like
opposite.
Okay.
Commercial is like for like this, you know, I was about to say the Sears catalog. Yeah, like
Okay.
you know, just like retail stores, while editorial is going to be like the very highest fashion, like on the runways modeling of those clothes that no one is ever actually going to wear.
Mhm.
While commercial is, you know, this swimsuit's going for sale and we need a picture of it in the catalog.
I could believe it. I mean, they said she
One's
was
useful, one's art.
16 when she was doing that kind of stuff, which is like I don't know how old she is. Supposed to be in season 1.
I think she was supposed to be 20.
20 or 21. Yeah, so I guess I could believe it. Those pictures look pretty good of her when she was younger or whatever. But
And she
guess I also don't-
claims, you know, I've traveled all around the world. I've lived in New York. I've been to Tokyo. I've been to Milan. So it sounds, you know, it sounds like it's those kinds of claims of people who, you know, she took one trip to take some pictures with a photographer, got paid for it. And then if you kind of artfully craft your language, you can make it sound like you have more experience than you do.
Yeah.
I love this phrase. It was one of the greatest phrases I learned in law school. But like people definitely tell their own stories in the light most favorable to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I know I do.
You know what was one of my favorite phrases? Was meat tooth when Juliet was talking with her friend and she said she had some lipstick on her canine and she's like, "Oh, which one?" She's like, "It's my meat tooth. That's what I call it."
That one was funny. I can't help but like Juliet. I think out of all the girls, like I did not like Kelsey at all. Not because she was a model, just because I thought she was dry, and that was like the only thing she had. That was her character. Is just like I used to be a model.
Yeah.
Like there was no part of her, and then also like I mean I don't know. It felt natural. Like her and Garrett's thing felt natural. Like she wanted to be with all these rich people, and he was just with her at the beginning. And like it felt like whether it was scripted or not, he could tell what was going to happen. Like what she was going to have to do to keep hanging out with these people. So I kind of like commiserated with Garrett or whatever. Not related, but I felt like he knew what was about to happen and she knew it was about to happen. But
I think that's fair.
Well, it feels like we're approaching a rating situation. Shall we record our thoughts for all posterity?
Wait, what are our rating units? I've just been kind of freestyling the last couple times. Maybe we should establish.
I mean, is it like, what was it? Is it Pauly's? I feel like that would be an appropriate rating. Like how many Pauly's would it be?
Like disabled microphones?
Disabled
jars of thoughts?
Star Spangled Banner swimsuits?
Faulty microphones was a good one.
I like a faulty microphone.
All
right. So Tony, tell us 0 to 10 faulty microphones. Season 1 of Siesta Key. Go.
The official rating is gonna have to be low. It's got to be like a 3 faulty microphones out of 10. But if you just want something is going to be as we've described it on the show, I gotta say, if you want something like that, it's got to be like a 7 or 8. Like, because it hits that mark of being just like watching young, beautiful people, horrible people do things to each other, and you get to see some pretty scenery and some wide shots of Florida coastline, I guess. So, official rating 4 faulty mics, and then white trash, guilty pleasure rating, 8 faulty mics.
Fair enough, man. Oh wow. For me, this show was incredibly useful because as the father of a very small child, a lot of times your television time has to kind of split your attention, where you can't really focus everything on the TV show because you've got to make sure that the kid's not getting into trouble. And so you kind of need something like this that you can have on in the background. And it just filled that void for me so well. So I think ultimately I'm going to land on this show as a 6. Better than a 5. I want to say my conclusion on Undone was it was a good show, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'm going to say the opposite for Siesta Key. It wasn't a good show, but I would definitely recommend it.
I love it.
That's fair. I like that.
How about you, Aaron?
So, in a similar sense, how you had a new baby, I had a new hobby and was playing World of Warcraft Classic: The Burning Crusade while doing this and leveling up my professions mainly. And it definitely was an easy thing to split my attention. I did not have to use 100% of my brain power to follow 100% of what was happening in the show. Funny to me, I usually do this method whenever I'm watching something awkward. I as a human being apparently have been pre-programmed with an inability to watch cringe directly on without creating some pretty wild and outrageous like contortions. But I employed this just because there was a whole lot of me like shaking my head and sighing, gasping desperately at times. But I kind of like Tony's analysis. I would say like, if you want to watch hot garbage, it's like a 7 or 8, like in the category of hot reality garbage. In my personal flavor, it's about a 2, because the production, the scenery, the beautiful people, those things are such a little component of what I look for in a show that because that's all there was for me. It gets a very low score, 2. 2 broken microphones. But again, if you are into reality TV and you're into drama and pot stirring and shit talking, I'd say about 7 or 8. I bet you the dialogue could have been a little bit better. The insults could have been a little bit more poignant. But if you're into it, that's what I think how I would score it. So it's a 2 with an asterisk.
All right, we've got 2 faulty microphones from Aaron, giving us an average score out of 10 of 4 faulty microphones, which means, gentlemen, we have a new lowest rated show on the show.
No longer Buffy.
Actually, His Dark Materials took the cake since then. But yeah, now we've got Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, His Dark Materials, and Siesta Key.
It's really interesting to me. I was thinking about this of like the shows that I would consider bad that we watched, and like I if I could go back, I probably would rate His Dark Materials lower than the show, because that show gave me like a visceral reaction. Like I was so off put by it that I was like, I don't like this. This makes me feel bad. This show was just like, not my flavor. So I still think that it's probably one of the worst shows I've ever seen, but did not have a visceral reaction to it.
Yeah, you gave His Dark Materials a 4. And just a quick scan through the data, it looks like a 2 is the lowest score ever given on the show.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, I apologize. I just spotted. I gave Umbrella Academy a 2 as well. Yeah, I hated Umbrella Academy. That show is shit.
And you'll have watched Doom Patrol, because I hear that one's really good, but I've not watched that.
We did do the first season of Doom Patrol. It is very good. I like Doom Patrol a lot.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Yeah. The second season's a bit rough. Me and Chrissy tried to watch it, and it gets a little bit into the weeds of character development, which is probably what you should do in a second season, but it just slows down the pacing of the show quite a bit.
Speaking of which, there's actually a very tangential connection between Doom Patrol and Siesta Key.
Interesting.
So if I understand correctly, we all watched this show on Paramount Plus. Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so when you guys watched, the opening theme was God, what was that? What did the song sound like? It was like
I'm gonna have the best time of my life.
Yeah.
Best time of my life. Yeah. So apparently, when you watch the show on MTV, it has a different theme song. It's a Carly Rae Jepsen song, "Cut to the Feeling." But for whatever reason, when the show is streamed, Paramount Plus and whatever services it gets streamed on don't have the rights to the Carly Rae Jepsen song, so they have to substitute this generic "Best Time I've Ever Had" song. But the connection to Doom Patrol is that the Carly Rae Jepsen song is used in the scene where they go to the drag show on the genderqueer street.
Oh.
It's the same theme song as this show, which I had watched Siesta Key before I watched Doom Patrol, so I lost it when that drag show happened.
Oh, this reminded me of something. The opening credit scene, like I must have just missed it, but I feel like I saw every scene in the little opening little song segment, whatever you want to call it, except for there's like one where Alex is kissing a girl under the water. I never saw that. I feel like I saw there's like a girl jumping off a boat. I saw that. All these other pieces like I saw throughout the season. I never saw like two people like underwater facing each other kissing. Did that happen?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but no, I don't think I saw it in the rest of the show, but I'm pretty sure it's just Juliet.
Oh, it just bothered me. I was like, where is it? When am I going to see it? How late into the season is this scene from?
Well, with that, before we wind up for the show, it is time to enter into the wheel of randomonium and pick our next show. Before show started, we kind of already had put these names on there. Would everyone like to give a quick synopsis of their pick before we present?
Sure.
I could do mine. I don't have a good synopsis. Mine was just because I have a man crush on Justin Theroux ever since The Leftovers. So my pick was Mosquito Coast, which I think is on Apple TV, which I don't think is horribly expensive, like $5-something a month. But I
It's
did
no
watch
problemo.
most of the pilot episode. It seems to be Justin Theroux and maybe his wife. They have children, but him and his wife have some sort of checkered past where the law is hunting them down. So at least the first episode sees them kind of about to run away from that. And I'm guessing they're going down to somewhere that's called the Mosquito Coast. And it'll be about like them and their family kind of on the run is what I'm assuming. But I have not done
going back to Florida.
research.
They're going back to Florida, the Mosquito Coast.
Maybe so. I think they start off in California, and they were talking about going to Mexico, so it might be in Mexico somewhere.
Oh, okay, fair. Jay?
Well, I have put forward Succession. Again, I'm not really sure exactly what it's about, apart from it's a wealthy family. The patriarch is nearing the end of his life, and his children are squabbling over his empire. It's created by one of my favorite television people who is behind Peep Show. So I'm very excited to see how they have managed to create this prestige drama. But we'll see.
Okay, very cool. I chose a show I've not seen. It's called Sick Note. It's on Netflix, and essentially a guy who has a pretty shit mundane life gets the news that he has cancer, and essentially everyone starts showering him with pity and attention, and then he finds out that he does not have cancer, and it's him wrestling with the moral dilemma: do I continue to milk this for all it's worth, or do I come forward and tell everyone that I'm okay? So that sounds like it's going to be a healthy dose of cringe. Again, not the biggest. Like I wrestle and struggle with cringe stuff. So I'm again giving myself a healthy dose of something that I struggle with to grow a little bit. So with that though, let's shuffle it up.
Spin that wheel of randomonium.
Double random. Shuffle and go. So don't even know what it started on. Here we go. Oh,
it's Jay. That means he's out for next time.
it is. That means it's going to be a me and you are the only participants in the Wheel of Randomonium. 50-50 shot. So
it's a good thing I didn't put it below deck, huh?
Hey, if you would have done it, I would have watched it, hands down.
See, that's what I love about you, Aaron. Like, you're just game.
I am. To me, one of the things I love about the show is that we are willing to watch something that, even if we hate it, we will finish it out and discuss it and explore it. Because honestly, art is one of those things where I've seen so many shows where like the first couple episodes are garbo, and then they kind of figure out where the characters are going, where the development is, where like that little silver lining in what they have is, and then they can hit it and really start to develop something. And so, to me, Trailer Park Boys is one of those great shows where the first season's a rough one. It's a rough one to get through. If someone just watched season 1 of Trailer Park Boys and said, well, I watched the first season and this is how I felt and I didn't watch any more, I don't feel you watched the show. You didn't get to any real character development into any of the grooves that they really hit with that show. So, that was my own lesson to myself.
Fair enough.
Stop sharing the screen like a doof.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to Succession. I also now just realized that we never introduced ourselves. We just talked about Adam and then launched into the show.
That's true.
So everybody out there, I'm one of your hosts. I'm Jay. You can find me on Twitter at JSuesponte. Alongside me, I got Aaron.
Heyo.
You can find Aaron at Tenacious Aaron. We also got Tony.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at tpinquite or Twitter at tpinquite and the number 1. If you made it this far, you're definitely going to check out our social media. So.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter at the Show Pods. Email us at the Show TV Podcast at gmail.com. If you got questions for us, if you've got suggestions about shows you'd like us to review, we'd be happy to hear those. So let us know. But otherwise, looking forward to next time with Succession.
One question.
I got a question. Has anyone written into the email?
I've got a confession. I've never checked it.
People's dreams are crushed. I was gonna say,
boom,
to drum up that email business, we could be like, you will go down in history as the first ever email received. But who knows? There could be.
We're gonna have like
hundreds of thousands.
All these show suggestions that we could have been taken from.
At least 1 billion and or 10 million emails.
I tell you what, if we ever get 4 like in a month. Like 4, we should just have that be the wheel. Like
100%.
Oh yeah.
Take
But
us
you
out
know
of it.
what?
Well, it's 3
I-
now, unless we find a fourth.
I will check this this email address right now, live on the air.
Bonus content for the
Yes.
group.
Follow us on all these other ways that you can follow us.
I really hope that I wrote down this password correctly. I don't want to add a home
I did
address.
not mean to. I did not mean to call out
How
the
about
email address.
this is really, really funny. If there's anyone who did write in, it was probably Christy, which is really even funnier.
She's been waiting for you to.
She just
respond to
hasn't
her
told
email.
us. Yeah, she just hasn't told me that. She's like, one day y'all gonna check that email.
It would be the first time that's happened. So we have about 1,000 emails from Anchor, and that's it.
Oh, okay. So,
All right.
So back to
So
that point.
thanks
yeah,
for our biggest
go down.
fan, Anchor.
You really
can go
hold us
down.
into place.
You can go down in history as the first ever email sender to the show.
I know there's at least 12 people that listen. So one of you guys send in a show. We'll watch it. We promise.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a colleague, tell a minister, anybody you're friendly with.
Or a therapist.
Yeah, tell your therapist.
All right. Well, with that, that is the end of the show. Salutations, Internet, and have a great one. We'll see you next time as we go over Succession.